if I wanted to get a babysitter for my kids, um, or a nanny, I would never hire a man.
I get this.
I would
but
never
would
go.
you, but the white, black is different.
Why is it different?
Because here's the thing. If there's a man in an alley, the male piece is different in my opinion simply because women aren't going to rape somebody, but a man can, right? As far as I know. I mean, God forbid there's statistics that's some way that's possible. But as far as I know, if I'm not in a female prison, I'm not getting raped by a woman. But men do far more often. 1 in 3 women are raped or molested. So that's got to mean there's a good number of guys out there who could perpetrate such a crime. But if I was walking down an alley, I would not think like, oh, he's white, so I'm probably not going to get raped. And I actually think the gods would never think that. But I feel like if you see a black guy and you think you're in more danger, not that you're a racist, but you definitely have succumbed to a bias without question. And I think that does so much harm for race relations, especially because then.
Do you think we should completely ignore patterns that we can all see? Like
What do you mean?
Well, okay. Young black males commit a wildly disproportionate amount of violent crime. Wildly disproportionate.
Okay, statistically.
Statistically, yes.
I've heard these statistics.
Right. It's just a fact. It's just a fact of life. I don't like it. I wish it wasn't a fact. It doesn't make me hate black people or think that, but it's just it's a fact. It's a very unfortunate fact. So the question is, when you're going about your daily life, are you supposed to just pretend you don't know that? Or is there never a scenario where that knowledge, just like it does with men versus women, the knowledge of the statistics, the likelihoods, the so on and so forth, is there never a scenario where you could act on that to some degree in a moment of self-preservation? I mean, I think clearly you can.
I wouldn't fall for it, I don't think, because it would depend on the part of town I'm into. So, like, you could go to a bad part of town, and there's guys of all different colors that are belonging to gangs, Asian gangs, Latin gangs, white skinheads, black gangs. In that part of town, I would think this is not a good part of town. If I was walking in a good part of town, wouldn't care the color of skin of the individual I was walking past. That part, I really think I try with these generalizations and these statistics not to succumb to this, not to label people based on generalizations. And maybe that's naive, but I don't think anything good comes out of that. I would also wonder when we look at, I could make the argument, somebody could, and it's not going to be me because I'm not intelligent enough to do it and I don't know the information behind it, but somebody might turn around and say to you, well, there's more black crime because of systemic racism and the position we've put black people in, and we've destroyed the black families, and there have been all these laws over the years. Because I know that argument would be made by a person who's far more educated on it than me. Do you think there's anything to that? Because I hate to tell you that I do think years of putting people in this position, you know what I mean? You fundamentally disempower someone, and you tell them also, the man's out to get you. Well, if the man's out to get you, then you have no hope. And maybe you will think, well, I need to make money this way.
I think I agree with that last part, that the message, like we talked about, this infantilizing message, really to any group that is not whites, is well, maybe to the exception of excluding Asians, all other non-white groups are infantilized with this message and told that you don't have power over your own life. And I think that has a terrible effect on people. And so I agree with you there. The first part of it, you say, well, we destroyed the black family.
I mean, I've heard those arguments. Now, and forgive me, again, I'm not super educated. I can't engage in an intelligent debate with you, but I have heard those arguments, and they have sounded pretty credible. And it has to do with like giving benefits to families if the father's not there. That there, I'm sure I'm butchering this, but there's an incentive to break up black families. Do you think I'm wrong about this? Am I?
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, I
misinformed?
mean, you're saying you're butchering there. You're actually not. I think you
Am I
give
getting
yourself.
it right?
Well, no, you should. Yeah, you are credibly representing
That
what the other
position.
side would say.
Okay.
So no, I don't think there's any worries there. But what I would say to that is, well, no, we are not destroying the black family. I'm not doing that. You're not doing that.
No, we aren't.
The law is not doing that.
Systemically, well, hold on.
Well,
If you're giving benefits, though, right? If there's an incentive, like, oh, you get more the food stamps or whatever it is, if there's no father in the house, technically, isn't that legal? Legally, you would get better benefits in a home with no dad.
yeah, and I myself don't know exactly how the benefits part works out, but I do know that whatever I do think that
Welfare, I
yeah,
think?
right. And I will say the welfare state I think has a terrible effect on the family. It has hurt the family, the family, the institution of the family, white and black. Um, if there was anything that like specified black people in those policies to try, then that would obviously you'd have an example there of systemic racism, but it doesn't. I mean, the effect that the welfare state and over reliance on the government, the effect that has can be felt and can be seen in low income white families and black families, and so you have an 80%.
Keeping it real with Jillian Michaels.